Time now for a look at what's making headlines in the French press here on France 24. For that, I'm joined by Kyle Brown. Hi, Kyle. We're starting off with the favourite subject of many French people at this time of year, holidays.
Vacation time. And as we can see on the front of Le Parisien, well, it doesn't look so rosy, does it? Chock-a-block. The highways going out of the major cities are likely to be full, warns the Parisien. It basically says that on Black Saturday, it's a not too severe a word, they say, because it's actually the day that it's likely to be the most packed on France's roads. And that's because of a couple of factors. 89% of people going on vacation apparently take their cars, a huge whopping factor, and it's not been offset by the economic crisis. It's not been offset by the fact that people take shorter vacations nowadays. And the other factor, of course, is that the French typically go to the same region in search of guaranteed sun, and that's the south.
Okie dokie. Also in Le Parisien, a reminder of that shocking story earlier in the year, that shootout in a Toulouse suburb.
Yes, Mohamed Merah. Some viewers will recall that a few months ago, 4 months ago, he shot four people outside of a Jewish school, and prior to that, the same month, a number of French forces were killed as well by the same man. Now, eventually, the police got a hold of Merah. There was a big shootout. They launched a raid on his house, and of course, in the ensuing fight, he died. And there was a lot of damage caused to the surrounding houses as a result. Now, here we can see the neighborhood, and a number of neighbors, as a result, have since been kind of repairing the damage. You know, bullet holes have riddled the buildings. People's windows smashed. They had to repair their cars, computers, home goods, and in the ensuing period, they've had to pay for those costs as they wait for insurance. So the story is about just the costs that they've had to bear since then and the wait for some kind of solution.
Okie dokie, moving on, the European financial crisis. If you want a solution, apparently you're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Or a lot longer, because Mario Draghi raised the hopes of both investors and anyone waiting really for a solution to the economic crisis, because last week he made a big announcement saying we will do whatever it takes to sort out the euro. Well, a week later he came out with another announcement. Everyone was waiting, and even the stock markets in the ensuing period even went up in the hopes that he would have some concrete measures. Well, alas, not a bit of it. Nothing at all concrete announced yesterday, and even as he spoke, the stock market started to dive, and Les Echos says this is a huge disappointment. They talk about the expectation that as he was making all of these promises vaguely, as he did a week ago, that people were interpreting all kinds of things, not least that the portions of debt, such as countries from Spain, Italy, those kinds of debts would be sorted out in some way, that there'd be a big European Central Bank injection of liquidity into these countries' debt to try to control the rate of interest that they were paying. Not a bit of it. What happened was he just said, okay, well, listen, we're going to announce some concrete measures in the coming weeks. So the phrase kicking the can down the road comes to mind yet again.
Next up, and yet again, France's 35-hour working week.
Now, this is something that I'm sure a lot of viewers had been hoping we would talk about yet again, because Le Figaro, it talks about the 35 working week. This is a law that was implemented by Lionel Jospin more than a decade ago, and it was aimed at limiting the number of working hours that any individual could work, in the hopes that it would increase the overall number of hours that everyone else worked. In other words, bring about new jobs. The Figaro says it hasn't happened at all. It's led to an economic horror, in its words, and it recalls that President Hollande, on the other hand, said it was a victory and that it would allow more people to work. They said, no, it's slowed the rise in salaries, it's made France much less competitive, and it's done nothing at all to halt the rise in unemployment figures. A gross failure, they said, and so they salute the UMP opposition member who this week tried to introduce legislation to cancel the whole thing.
And some people still say 35 hours is too much. Kyle Brown, thanks very much for that roundup of the press. Do stay with us here on France 24.